Back now at 8:12 with today's professionals. Our power players, Star Jones, Donny Deutsch, and Dr. Nancy Snyderman are here and ready to tackle the topics of the day. Hi, guys.
Hi,
great to see you. Let us start with putting in privacy. I'm sure you heard the president played golf with Tiger Woods. I don't know, but it's alliterative. I thought you would appreciate that as an ad guy. So Tiger Woods and the president play golf over the weekend in Florida. The White House does not release a photo of that outing, nor do they let the pool cameras take a picture of it. And some are up in arms, the White House press specifically, saying, look, here you go again, denying access. Do you think that the White House should have released a photo, or do you think that they are within their rights, Star?
Well, I think this is a silly story, and I do think the only people that are up in arms are the White House press corps. I don't think there's any person in the United States of America that is sitting around while they're trying to get a job worrying about whether or not they could cover the president on the golf course. I think it's ridiculous.
To the larger question, do you think the White House's decision not to release a photo, and there have been other golf outings, for example, with Speaker Boehner, where they did release a photo later, is it because you think that they're concerned about the image?
The Boehner thing was an absolute play on part of the White House to show that there's solidarity and that these two can talk and play and maybe forge a deal. Look, I think this was basically they're saying enough is enough. And I think Starr's right. The White House press corps is upset. This president has not necessarily made himself available as other presidents have. And therein lies the rub.
What you were touching on, I think, is interesting. I believe. Look, Tiger Woods, there's still a lot of toxicity with him.
That's right.
You look at Tiger Woods, particularly for women, and you go, ew. All of a sudden, the president, boys' day out. It's not that it's fair. If I was managing his image, I would not have him putting around with Tiger.
All right, two issues here. Tiger Woods, famous not just for golf, and maybe the White House doesn't want an image with him. But the White House press corps, to its credit, says it's not just about this issue of a golf and whether they want to have a picture of that, but larger issues of access and transparency.
So access has been a problem, but this weekend of anything, who cares?
Yeah.
I know, there's just so much going on in our world that we shouldn't care about golf with Tiger.
They calculated not to. Don't kid yourself.
Correct. Let's move on then. Pistorius' story. We're all watching this riveting bail hearing in South Africa. A lot of facts are coming out. Start with you, Star. I mean, we talked about this a little earlier in the show. Do you feel his defense, his version of events, has been significantly undermined by what we've heard in court?
Well, that's just what we've heard thus far. We shouldn't be hearing this much. I don't understand why Pistorius decided to do an affidavit, because when you provide the prosecution with information about what happened, no matter how minute it is, even if you don't have all the details in, it gives me something to argue against the forensic evidence. And if it doesn't line up, you're in trouble.
Aside from the court case, Donny, I mean, what are your deep thoughts about the idea of somebody who had this brilliant image, was this beloved figure, not just in South Africa, but internationally?
Well, speaking of an image, it's interesting. Nike, you got Lance Armstrong, you got Michael Vick, you've got this guy, and, we're our heroes. It is almost to the point where there is nothing that can surprise us anymore. As far as is he innocent or guilty, I'm not an attorney. It certainly looks like it's lining up against him, but innocent.
Well, and our friend Mary Carrillo said yesterday, because we were all really caught up in the fervor of this all over the summer, she said, look, I helped put the halo on his head. I think we all did. We spotlighted him. It was a biomedical story. It was a human interest story. We all helped anoint him. I think from a medical standpoint, the question will be, were those steroids? Was he injecting? And if so, was that steroid rage? And if you've never seen someone get jittery and lose their temper and their edge on steroids, it is a frightening thing.
One of the facts we'll be watching very closely to see how that develops in the courtroom. Let's move on. The reality of rehab. Of course, we saw that Mindy McCready took her own life. She had a long struggle with drugs, and at one point in her life had been on this show, Celebrity Rehab, with Dr. Drew. It's been noted in the press that in the past 18 months, 4 of the show's 43 participants have died. This is the 5th one. You raised the question. It's certainly not the show's fault, but I guess the larger question is, do these kinds of shows help or
I think you have a couple of things. I mean, Drew Pinsky is a friend of mine. I happen to think he's really great at what he does. But this underscores addiction is tough. It is not a quick fix. We watch these shows because they're train wrecks. Not because we expect people to die, but because we get some perverse pleasure over watching other people struggle. I'm frankly not surprised by the numbers.
I think this, number one, crosses the line. I don't know if
Drew's show crosses the line?
I think this show crosses the line because I don't know if these people are of sound mind capable enough to make an appropriate decision. Just like if somebody was mentally disabled, are they able to make a decision like this? And secondly, if you go back and watch the movie Network, which predicted, this ridiculousness of TV. We've passed it.
Yeah.
We have passed it. And how far can we go?
Before we move on, let me read a statement from Dr. Drew. He said, although I have not treated Mindy McCready for a few years, I had reached out to her recently upon hearing about the apparent suicide of her boyfriend and father of her younger child. She was devastated. Although she was fearful of stigma and ridicule, she agreed with me that she needed to make her health and safety a priority.
And as you know, when a mother
story.
loses her children, loses custody, there are already issues. She must have been phenomenally
And also,
fragile.
don't forget the celebrity part of it. That plays to the cameras.
Let's end on a much, much lighter note. To recline or not to recline. One writer took on this issue of people reclining in their seats and says it's the end of civilization and the airline should ban it. Are you guys recliners?
I am not. I think it's rude. I like the bulkhead because people don't put their seats in my lap.
Yeah.
Don't shoot the player. It's up to the airlines. If it can recline that far,
but it's
leave
rude.
We know they're in first class.
I think with everything else, it's a little complicated.
It's so rude.
I'm in my seat. I'm going to do what I need to do in my seat.
Seriously?
Okay?
So you recline?
You're going to put your tray in my lap just because you want to lie down?
If I have a 6-hour flight to Los Angeles, which I do later on today,
well, then I'm kicking you the whole way.
Okay.
And I'm happy I don't have the middle seat between them.
All right, guys.
There it is.
Star Donny, Nancy, thanks so much, guys.